Do 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 do. La 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 la. Na 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 na. Da 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 da. Do 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 do. Alright, where is this video? Are you playing? Why can't I find you? Recently uploaded, popular shorts, playlist, community, channels, about. I should be able to see this live. Why can't I? Hey? Why can't I? Why can't I? Dun 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 dun. Dun 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 dun. Because I'm not sure if this is coming through live or not. Capture moments as they happen. Stream markers, time set you can add while you're live once you stream. So if I go onto the book reviews channel, I can see it in here. It's just not showing me that anything's happening. But I should be connected. I should be live. It says I'm streaming. What if I do this? I get that thing. And I post it in here. Then I go onto here. Aha. There should be a way around it. Go over to here, check in here. Okay, I see that. I want to go there. I'm really not sure why it's not showing up on the channel. Very strange. Okay. Can hear that. Good, good, good. Alright. I'll at everyone. Trying something new and doing a live version of the book recaps. Tune in or wait until Monday. Now copy that, put that there, copy that, post that, send that. I'll do this on Twitter as well, because tweet. Okay. Now I'll need to get up my notes as well, that's important. Post all that there. And then I'll add in the la 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 book recap thing. Cool. For the audio and recording to be released. Nice. Okay, all right, that's looking pretty good. I should be able to switch that over as I'm doing it. Cool. All right, I will need to get the audio looking schmick as well. Preferences, audio hardware. Yep, that's exactly how I want it. Got that rocking and rolling. That's looking good. Right, I'll start that recording, and then I'll be able to edit that whenever I want. Check, 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 check. Speaking to the mic. How's that looking? Looking pretty good. Okay, that's fine there. Cool. All right. I think that's everything I need to do. Do one last check of here before I get into the normal stuff. And I actually want this one here right at the top. Yep, sounds good. All right, well, let's just hope this doesn't stuff up midway through, because I won't be able to tell if it's not. Okay, that is going. And I'll get that. I'll do that afterwards. That's not too hard. Make sure that one out. Yep. Did you click the link, Juan? Not showing on the book review page, but the link works. Just make sure that's not unlisted. That would be a no-no. Ah, it's unlisted. That's why. That is why. Should be good now. I had it unlisted. Now it's public. Cool. All right. I think that is enough dilly-dallying around. 20 minutes late. Good. Hopefully I'll be able to fix it up more in the future. And I've sent that out. That is there. I see a couple of viewers coming in. Very cool, very cool. Oh, Juan's there. Christmas spirit. Okay. Nice, we're backlisted. Thanks, Juan. Thanks for testing. All right. Welcome, Immortalites. It is the season of giving. We're coming in with another book recap, everything that happened in December of 2022. I'm in my festive spirit, and I'm also doing it live for the first time. So we are testing out something new. Expect things to break. And yeah, welcome. We'll just dive right into it, I suppose. So my first book of my favorite, I suppose, and the highest rated of this month was Alexander Pushkin's Evgeny Onegin, or Eugene Onegin. I don't know how to pronounce it. It's coming from a different area, Russia, and it's obviously a little bit difficult to pronounce. So I'm just going to bring it up on the screen here, so for those at home can see. And basically, this was I almost didn't bother with this book, to be honest. When I first picked it up, I read the first couple of pages, and I just went, it's just poetry. I'm not really that big a fan of poetry. But when I actually got into it and didn't half-ass it, I went, oh, wow, this is actually a pretty decent book. I'm actually enjoying this quite a lot. So, there was... I don't know what it was that really stuck out to me. I suppose some lines here that I might read to you, which I thought were pretty good. So this is from page 41, and stanza 13. But Lenski, having no desire for marriage bonds or wedding bell, had cordial hopes that he'd acquire the chance to know one Jin so well. Ugh. And so they met like wave with mountain, like verse with prose, like flame with fountain. So those sort of just very unique aspects like that, like wave with mountain, like verse with prose, like flame with mountain. Things like that would really get me. Another one was there was some really unique aspects of how the rhyming would work, and he would change it to to create verbs that didn't exist. So, or things like this. So it was, meanwhile, Ongin's presentation at Madame Laren's country seat produced at large a great sensation and gave the neighbours quite a treat. They all began to gossip slyly, to joke and comment rather wryly, and soon the general verdict ran that Tanya'd finally found a man. So it was like this word, that Tanya'd. So that's like that Tanya had, I guess, is how you do that. But in English, it doesn't really work like that. You don't say, I had, I'd, I guess. Well, I guess you do, I guess. But I don't think I'd seen that that Kyrin did finally found a man. It doesn't really work. It works with her name though, Tanya'd. So there's all these like little tiny aspects. I can't remember if I read this off in the actual book review as well. On page 174, he was just getting into the scene where he was saying like saying goodbye to this castle. Yeah, there gleam the city gates already, and now along Trevyaska Street. The sleigh glides over ruts and passes, by sentry booth and peasant lasses, by gardens, mansions, fashion shops, past urchin street lamps, strolling fops, Bockran sleighs, apothecaries, musmics and merchants, Cossack guards, past towers, hovels, boulevards, great balconies and monasteries. It's really beautiful. I've finally gotten to appreciate a little bit of poetry, which is rather funny. And it's not only the poetry itself, it goes very quickly from, I guess, these deep ponderings, as in who do you trust in life, what is real, what is love, and then the next thing it'll be going to praising a Bordeaux wine over this AI wine or something in a really funny way, in this humorous manner. So yeah, Evgeny Onegin by Alexander Pushkin, I gave that an 8.5 out of 10, and I'd highly recommend it, even the English version, and I'll touch upon that in the Boostagram Lounge because Peter had some comments related to that as well. Now, the next one that I had here was coding for beginners using Python, so something a little bit different, and was my first real dive into Python and learning some coding, and was pretty fun. You're welcome to have my Hosky script. So if you go onto the Discord, I actually have posted it in there in, I believe, the book reviews channel, and I'll keep this for ever, hopefully. And if not, it's findable in there. You just have to search Hosky in our Discord, and it should pop up. Juan tested it out. It does indeed have zero malware in there, so it'd be hilarious if I actually managed to create some malware. So no, it's all pretty good. There's a reason why I chose this over thicker books that I could have used as well, because when I did get this, I had a couple of different books. So this was Louie Stowell, by the way, and I gave it an 8 out of 10 just for completeness sake. And yeah, I could have used a whole bunch of different ones, but there was something stood out to me about this going, okay, I feel like this is actually the right way to start, even though it's obviously designed for kids with all the colors and random stuff that's going on it. It just seemed like the appropriate thing. So yeah, if you're looking for starting with coding, for example, I don't know, I found it useful to get actually a quite beginner's book. And it did serve quite a good purpose for me. So the next one that I had was Plutarch's The Age of Alexander. So definitely a kind of biography, and I suppose just the Greeks in general. And so there is no disgrace in avoiding death, so long as a man does not cling to life dishonorably. But neither is there any special virtue in meeting it if this is done out of contemptful light. It is for this reason that Homer always brings his bravest and most warlike heroes into battle splendidly and effectively armed, and that the Greek lawgivers punish a man for throwing away his shield, but not his sword nor his spear. Their object was to teach him that his first duty is to protect himself from harm rather than inflict it on the enemy, and this is most of all true for a man who governs a city or commands an army. Quite the difference from what you really expect from the Greeks. Usually you expect, the Spartans, they throw away their life recklessly. They will be the most bloodthirsty, crazy people out. But no. In fact, the Greeks actually had now, this is just one line from a book, so I don't know for sure, but I hadn't heard this anywhere else before, which is, the main objective is actually save your own life, don't kill your own, just don't throw away yours needlessly. And you could imagine that, this is pretty sound advice if you're commanding an army and you're at the leader, you shouldn't be the ones on the front line, no matter, unless in very special circumstances where it can inspire the men and turn a defeat into a victory, for example. But erring on the side of precaution, keeping your spear. If you can only run with one of them, throw away your spear and keep your shield. I thought that was an intriguing thing that I hadn't really heard of elsewhere. Another one was on page 397, and this is where you really get a taste of the fickle will of the people. So this was where, who was it? This is Pyrrhus or Pyrrhus. I'm not sure how you actually say his name, and I'm just trying to find this exactly where it was talking about how the people would turn on them. I think it's this section. The Romans were at this time at war with the people of Tarentum, who were neither strong enough to carry on the struggle, nor, because of the reckless and unprincipled nature of their demagogues, inclined to put an end to it. They therefore conceived the idea of making Pyrrhus their leader and inviting him to take part in the war, since they believed that he was the most formidable general of all the Greek rulers, and also that he was more free to act than the others. Among the older and more prudent citizens, some who were directly opposed to the plan were silenced by the clamor and vehemence of the warmongers, while others, seeing the way that matters were going, stayed away from the assembly. So basically, when he got elected, other people would, it's kind of the same things that happen nowadays. It's the very vocal minority can sway the big, uncaring / just not that deeply interested majority, and it can sway the people left and right. And even though you have this guy who is obviously the best leader, you can have a couple of people ruin it for everyone by electing someone who then goes around and is bribed and sells out their city and things like that. So yeah, there was just a lot of things like that. And if you wanted to know more of this, of the Age of Alexander, Juan and I did a full kind of musings recap, really diving deep into this idea of character and whatnot. And that was on the episode 356 musings of the Mere Mortals podcast. So if you want to know more about that, I would suggest tuning in to there, and you'll get some more ideas related to this character, stoic virtue and whatnot, from the olden days and to the modern days, and if it's applicable or not. Just highly recommend going out and checking that. And then the last book review that I did was, and so that was 7.5 out of 10 that I gave for the Age of Alexander. And I also gave that to Tess of the De Herbables by Thomas Hardy, which I released just yesterday, in fact. And yeah, it's a good book, sad, but very sad. You just come out of it just going, poor Tess. She had a real rough go of it, and I'm kind of jesting, but if you met someone like Tess in real life, geez, that would be awful. Just awful to know that can happen to people in their everyday life and whatnot. I do admire Hardy for his morals somewhat. A lot of the things that I kind of take and that I agree with from these books is that there's kind of no nobility in poverty. You hear this sometimes, the kind of noble savage, the happiest people are the ones who have the least amount of things and stuff like that. I've personally haven't really seen that whilst traveling. I traveled all over Latin America. I saw a lot of poor countries, and yes, sure, there's happy people there. I didn't get the impression that due to their poverty that they were in a better position than Westerners and things like that. It's just such a stupid idea, and that poverty is just such a degradation. And you see it in Tess of the De Herbables, the things that she has to do to keep her family alive are just, they're not things you would want upon a daughter, upon a friend, upon anything like that. She had to make sacrifices, and boy, were they big sacrifices. And, it was due to poverty, not due to any other reason. So the decline of the prestigious name, so not attaching importance to these things that your ancestors had done in the past, or, oh, wow, this guy, his parents are really rich, so he must also be this amazing person. No, I think we've seen enough examples of that in our everyday lives, or just just famous people behaving badly because, their parents are famous, that sort of stuff. The archaic religious concepts as well. I think it's nice to see that. The amount of blaming of the woman, in particular, Alec did this. Alec de Herbeville, where he was going, "Oh, Tess, it's your fault that I'm behaving like this. It's your looks. They drive me wild. Why did you have to do this?" It's this insane. It's like she can't control her looks, man. What? And in fact, she multiple times in the novel tries to hide her looks by bandaging up her face and things like that. And it's just so stupid to read stuff like that. And it's so funny because the alterations that he had to do to this book were just so silly. So I'm jumping to the very, very end of the book here, and this is in the notes section talking about the alterations. And so there were so many different things he had to change. So the alterations he had made for the serial version were drastic and indeed almost made nonsense of the novel. In the serial version, there is no seduction. Instead, Tess, while at Trantridge, is tricked into a bogus marriage with Alec, nor does Tess give birth to a child. And even in the Sanborn episode near the end of the novel, it is implied that relations between Tess and Alec are purely platonic. Multiple different things, changes to the tombs where she goes. Angel doesn't even carry the dare maids across the flooded lane in his arms, but in a wheelbarrow. It's like, oh my god, the human touch. It's so naughty, so scandalous. It's just insane. Just seeing that, and then it's just going to be hilarious in 100 years' time. People listening to the Mere Mortals, perhaps, or other popular culture and things like that, and just going, geez, you believe that? How archaic, how silly. So it is amusing looking back in the past and then going forward and going, oh damn, I'm probably doing the same exact things. So yeah, the one thing I would just say from this novel as well was there was a very abrupt ending. I didn't like the ending, which actually made me give it a slightly less score. And this was because after all of this, travesty and whatnot, she basically murders Alec, and then her and Angel are on the run, and they get captured at Stonehenge. And then the last chapter, I guess, which is only 2 pages long, is basically her saying, well, previously she was saying to Angel, "Oh, you have to marry Lisa Lou, my sister. She's so brilliant. She's so beautiful. She's just like me." So even though there was this huge love between the two of them, it was the primary portion of the whole book. This love, this unbreakable love, or well, it was very breakable, I guess, because this love they had between each other. And he's not imagining he could be able to be happy with any other girl. She gets executed at the end, and he walks off into the sunset with Lisa Lou. And it just feels such a random thing that happens. Why all of his previous actions were kind of dictating he wouldn't do something like that, and then yet suddenly right at the end, just because she says, "Oh, you have to look after her," he could have looked after her monetarily, but it's not like he needed to marry her and run off into the sunset with her. So I definitely found that slightly strange. So there is one more book technically coming out this month, which Juan has done, called Stillness is the Key. I have yet to look over that, and I actually don't want to talk about it before it's even released on the channel. So I'll save that for the book recap that comes out in January, at the end of January. So thanks for tuning into that portion. Those were my thoughts on all the books that I read of this section. I'm just going to check out here. There's no particular comments. One best headshot of the whole bunch. Sound damn advice. Thanks, Juan. And yeah, I'll jump now onto the Boostagram Lounge. So had a couple of Boostagrams coming in, and once again, it's Peter, and I very much appreciate Peter. He's helped support this channel for a long time. It would be nice to see some other people tuning in though, and sending some boosts, some sats our way. So I would appreciate that very much if you could do that. Mostly for the interactive part, not even necessarily the dollar amount or the Satoshi amount, I should say. But yeah, it would be very, very, it would inspire me. And I'm trying to make this channel better. I'm doing this live section here, so another kind of incentive we'll be. I'm willing to do some more stuff. Perhaps do lives every week. Maybe we'll have to see about that. But yes, indeed, this is the Boostagram Lounge. So let's jump right into it. So Petar sent in 4,901, and this was related to the move aside regulation bullshit. Progress is coming through. How innovation works by Matt Ridley. And I must have said something related to the FDA not approving new drugs. So I was saying like they're super strict and they're stopping, good drugs that could potentially be coming through, and they're being overly harsh. And he says, very rarely justified opposing new drugs. This author is absolute trust. Here's a few drugs besides thalidomide that were approved by the FDA and later pulled by the market from the market by the FDA. All right, I'll try and do this quick. Cephalosporin, lorcaserin, valdecoxib, pemeline, propoxyphene, phenmorphin, diethylibstrol, brofamanac, levamisole, astimazole, allostron. Jesus Christ, who names these? Sibutramine, nomethminine, terlidyline, gemutzumab, ozokmacin, temaflaxin, hydromorphin, hydrochloride, pergolide, phenylphramine, mifebril, cisapride, Jesus is worse, pentylenetetrazole. Oh, Jesus. All of those sound awful, so I'm not surprised they got pulled. Look, the FDA is an American thing. I have zero exposure to it myself personally. I have heard bad things on, I guess either sides now. One, people saying they're too harsh and not letting enough drugs in, and then others saying, and Peter here saying, they let in all this stuff, which I assume was pulled from the market because it had very negative side effects and things like that. I'll leave that's two conflicting things there. I'll leave the viewer to make their own mind up about that. Another one here from Peter, 3,267. This was related to the Age of Alexander. And he says, an ancient self-help book. I guess some things never change. You are correct, my friend. The more you read from history, the more you go, those are the same people as us. They just, wore funny, didn't wear shirts. Man, they were actually probably more, I like that. If I didn't have to wear shirts, that'd be a great thing. So they had it made. They knew what was going on. Another one here, 3,267, and these are all coming through my Fountain wallet, so they take their little cut. So I'm guessing these are 3,333, if I had to guess. And it says, Lead Haxor Kyrin with a 1 has a nice ring to it. Yeah, I've always wondered, what would be I've always had this kind of fantasy where I'd become really good at like a DJ, and I would never show my face, kind of like Daft Punk. And I'd make it Scarface, and I'd have a scar on my face, and the costume I'd wear would have a scar on it as well, and I'd call myself like Scarface McGraw or something like that. So a little random fact there, but this is the Litax or Kyrin, and I've actually been watching some speedrunning stuff recently. Check out the Mere Mortals in a week or two, and I'll talk about speedrunning a bit. So I'll get into some gaming as well. Yeah. The last one here from Peter again. This is related to Evgeny Onegin, and he sends same amount, 3,267. I don't believe this is possible to do authentically. The translator must have modified the meaning significantly to make the lines rhyme. Are you still even reading Pushkin at that point? I don't know, man. This is a tough one. The only way I'll know is by actually reading the Russian, and I don't plan on reading Russian and learning my Russian to get up to that good a point. Now, if ever, I don't. Russian's an interesting language, but I'm not sure I'll get to it. I don't know what to say, man. I thoroughly enjoyed the novel, the poetry. I thought it's agreed. I also find it hard to believe that they managed to keep it the meaning. It's just it works so well, and the stanzas and the rhyming structure and even just the way it sounded. It wasn't like there was really short ones and then really long ones. It just flowed so smoothly. So Correct. I mean, the only other way to do this would perhaps be to get another translation and do that. And when I have done that, the one time I have done that, which was with the Dao Di Ching by Lao Tzu, I think that was Lao Tzu, yeah. There was a huge difference between different versions. One was definitely the more poetic one, and the other was, I suppose, the more scientifically accurate or the more literal one. And there was a huge difference between those two. So you're probably right, Peter. There is probably a fair bit of license being taken by James E. Fallon. So maybe I should be praising him more than I should be praising Pushkin. But let's just, I'll go with it. 75% Pushkin, 25% Fallon. How's that for a prediction? So yeah, it was good, I suppose, on that point. But nevertheless, I still really enjoyed it. And I have enjoyed Russian literature a fair bit, although I have heard from many a Russian heard online people saying that Russian is, you don't get the full context of Dostoevsky until you read it in the Russian. So, but I don't know, that's being said by Russians, and they're always going to hype up their own language. So who knows? But that is the Boostagram Lounge. Thank you for contributing in, Peter, my friend. And yeah, this is the Mere Mortals Book Reviews podcast, and it's a value for value podcast. So the whole effort that I put in here relies on your generosity in helping things continue. You know, there's server costs for, hosting costs, I should say, for hosting these. Maybe I'll move these onto Casterpod one day. And there's, just a lot of time, effort put into this, both from myself and from Juan. He's got some book reviews coming up, so tune into those. And we just ask that you contribute back in whatever way you can. So for some people, this will be as simple as sharing and telling a friend about this. I would very, very much appreciate that. Whether it be the audio or the video version, both of those are awesome. I really love getting comments of any sort coming in. And I have gotten that from people such as Nastia, who provide some really good comments on Pushkin and on the different book reviews I'm doing. She left a very detailed one on the YouTube for Tess the Herbivores. I appreciate that a whole lot, and it does. It is really helpful for me just to see what portions people take out, what they think of the book reviews, any suggestions on improvements. I'm all ears. And then of course the monetary one. So not as applicable for those who are watching on YouTube, but if you're listening to the audio version of this, I really do appreciate if you go to a new podcast app, one like Fountain or Breeze. Those are probably the two easiest to get some Satoshis, and then sending in a message to me, and with a portion of those attached as a contribution, as saying thank you for the value you're providing, Kyrin. And you can choose whatever amount you want. It can be small, it can be big. And I always read those out in these end of month book recaps to say a big thank you. And so, yes, once again, a very, very big thank you to Peter. He's been a long-time supporter of this show, and I'm forever grateful for him to help keep this going and help keep me motivated as well. So very, very much appreciated. The final section that we have here is what's coming up for January of 2023. I think Juan and I will probably do a kind of book recap of 2022 on the Mere Mortals podcast, so go over there and check that out. It's going to be varied, much like how I had here poetry, ancient Greek, a coding book, and Victorian English romance / tragedy. What's coming up is probably going to be very similar. So some stuff that I've got here is Emile Zola. I've been meaning to read a bunch of his, or any of his, since the Thérèse Raquin, which is one of the actually kind of biggest book reviews that we've done, both on the audio and the video. And I very highly enjoyed that. I've had this one in mind for a while, The Courage to be Disliked by Ichiro Kishimi and Fumitaki Koga, so a Japanese book, in English, obviously, and I've heard that one is really good. I've also got another version of theirs, The Courage to be Happy, so I'll read one of them, I suppose, and the one I prefer more. David Chalmers, Reality Plus, Virtual Worlds and the Problems of Philosophy, so getting into a little bit of philosophy there. I'd have The Tibetan Book of the Dead by, I'm not sure this actually has an author. yeah, it's got a translator and an introduction, but there's no particular author. So there's just from antiquity. And then I also have, you best believe it, another book on coding. So this one's Algorithms for Dummies, and create your own algorithms using Python and whatnot. This is definitely a thicker one than the children's one that I had before, and I can already tell it's a lot more dry. Talking about matrices, talking about executing the code. Yeah, I think there's going to be a very different thing than what I had before. It doesn't even look like there's some little sections of code, but I think it's more of the understanding portion of stuff. So be interesting. I'll be working on that in my spare time. So that is it for today, my mere mortal lights. Thank you for tuning in to all of this. I really do hope you're having a fantastic day wherever you are in the world, reading some books, tuning in. It's going to be like I say a lot of the time, we try and keep this as weekly as possible. And I think some of these books I'll be able to read in a fair bit. And I know Juan's got a couple stacked up, so we should be able to smash out a book review every day for January as well. So that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed this live version, and more details on this in the future of a date and time and things like that. But we'll leave it there. And yeah, thanks for tuning in, and I'll be hanging around the Discord as well if you want to talk some stuff and talk some shit and whatnot. And yeah, ciao for now.